You know that feeling when a conversation starts going sideways and your heart starts racing, your palms get sweaty, and suddenly every word coming out of your mouth feels like it's making things 10 times worse? Yeah, that feeling. The one where you're trying so hard not to explode, but something in your chest just keeps tightening until you either shut down completely or say something you'll regret for weeks. That's not a character flaw. That's not weakness. That's just what happens when nobody ever actually taught you how to handle conflict without destroying something in the process. And here's what nobody talks about. Most people are losing relationships, opportunities, and years of their life not because they're bad people, but because they were never given the right tools. They're reacting from a place of pain instead of responding from a place of power. Right now, if you're someone who dreads confrontation, who replays conversations at 2 in the morning wondering what you should have said differently, or who walks on eggshells just to keep the peace, this is going to change how you see everything. We also have related programs linked down below in the video description. These resources go far deeper than what we can cover here, and the people who take action on them first are always the ones who see the fastest results. Most people will scroll past it. Don't be most people. Now let's get into it. Picture this. You're in the middle of a disagreement. Maybe it's with someone close to you, maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's someone you've been trying to keep peace with for a long time. And right in the middle of it, something is said that hits a nerve. Your body floods with heat. Your vision almost narrows, and everything inside you wants to either fight back hard or just disappear from the conversation entirely. That moment right there is where everything either gets better or gets catastrophically worse. Research consistently shows that unresolved conflict is one of the top causes of relationship breakdown, workplace dysfunction, and chronic stress. Some studies suggest people spend an average of nearly 3 hours per week dealing with conflict at work alone, and the emotional cost at home is often even higher. Think about what 3 hours per week of emotional turmoil costs you across an entire year. That's over 150 hours of your life stolen by conflict that could have been handled in 10 minutes with the right approach. But here's what's wild. Almost nobody is actually trained for this. You weren't taught conflict resolution in school. Your parents probably modeled whatever their parents did, which was probably either avoidance, explosion, or cold silence. And so you inherited a strategy that was never really a strategy at all. The first thing that transforms how you handle conflict is understanding what conflict actually is at its core. Conflict is not the other person being difficult. Conflict is two different perspectives colliding around something that matters. The moment you stop seeing the other person as the enemy and start seeing the situation as the problem, something shifts in your body. The threat response cools down just enough for you to actually think. This sounds simple, but applied in the real heat of the moment, it is genuinely one of the most powerful mental pivots you can make. Now let's talk about the body, because most people try to manage conflict with their mind while their body is completely hijacked. When conflict triggers your stress response, your brain's threat detection system activates, and your rational thinking actually gets suppressed. That's not metaphor, that's biology. Your brain is physically less capable of measured thinking when you're activated, so the skill isn't controlling your words first. The skill is regulating your nervous system first. 3 slow breaths, each exhale longer than the inhale, can measurably lower your physiological stress response within 60 seconds. People who master this single habit report that their conflicts feel like they happen in slow motion compared to before. They feel calm while everyone else is unraveling. That calm is not indifference. That calm is power. And from that calm place, you can do something almost no one does in the middle of conflict. You can listen. Not listen while planning your rebuttal. Actually listen to understand what the other person is really saying underneath their words. Because here's a truth that will rewire how you see every argument you've ever had. People almost never fight about what they say they're fighting about. The person who snaps about dishes left in the sink is usually communicating something about feeling unseen or undervalued. The coworker who gets defensive about feedback is usually speaking from a fear of inadequacy. The friend who goes quiet after a disagreement is usually drowning in something they don't know how to voice. When you start hearing the emotion underneath the words, you stop reacting to the surface and start responding to what actually matters. And that single shift moves you from conflict to connection faster than anything else. Now here's a pattern that destroys more relationships than almost any other. It's the escalation spiral. One person says something charged, the other person matches the energy or raises it, and within 2 minutes you've gone from a small friction to a full-blown rupture that takes days to repair. The antidote is what skilled communicators call de-escalation anchoring. It's the deliberate choice to lower your own tone, slow your own pace, and reduce the intensity in your voice, even when every instinct is screaming to match fire with fire. This is extraordinarily difficult to do without practice. But the people who develop this ability become almost impossible to pull into a destructive argument. They become the person in the room who others instinctively trust because there's something about their presence that communicates safety even under pressure. And the downstream effects of this are staggering. Relationships that used to feel like walking through a minefield start to feel like solid ground. Conversations that used to cost you 2 days of emotional recovery start resolving in 20 minutes. The people around you start bringing their real problems to you instead of hiding them, because they trust that you won't react in a way that makes things worse. That is not a small thing. That is a completely different quality of life. Let's talk about language, because the specific words you use in a heated moment either open a door or slam it shut permanently. The most dangerous language in conflict is accusatory language. Any sentence that starts with "you always," "you never," or "you make me feel" is going to trigger defensiveness in the other person almost without exception, because it puts them in a position where they have to either capitulate or fight back to protect their sense of self. The language that actually moves things forward is observational and self-referential. Instead of saying, "you make me feel ignored," try something like, "I've been feeling really disconnected lately, and I want to understand what's been happening between us." One version is an attack, the other version is an invitation, and people almost always accept invitations. This takes practice, but people who shift their language in conflict consistently report that their conversations start landing differently within weeks, not months. The other person stays present instead of getting defensive. Solutions actually emerge instead of just more arguing. Here's something powerful to hold on to. Every single time you handle a conflict with calm and skill instead of reaction and damage, you are building something invisible but incredibly valuable. You are building a reputation as someone who can be trusted with hard conversations. And that reputation compounds over time into opportunities, into deeper relationships, into a level of influence that people who cannot manage conflict will simply never access. The cost of not learning this is not just the arguments you lose. It's the relationships that quietly fade, the promotions that quietly go to someone else, the version of your life that stays just out of reach because conflict keeps blowing up the bridges you need to cross. Most people will watch this, nod along, and then go handle their next conflict exactly the same way they always have. Because knowing something and truly integrating it are two completely different things. If you're serious about transforming this skill at a level that actually sticks, the related programs in the video description below go into everything we touched on here and so much more, with a kind of depth and structure that creates real and lasting change. The people who take one look and keep scrolling will keep getting the same results they've always gotten. The ones who take action today are already starting to live differently. That choice is yours right now.